Welcome to CityWise. I'm your host, Tiana Stevens. CityWise is produced by the City of Rochester to shine a spotlight on city living at its best. Rochester is known as a community that values the arts and music, and for young people, it's often a much-needed outlet of expression. For more than 50 years, Young Audiences of Rochester has been a pathway to creativity and learning through art. It's a nonprofit organization with programs for kids of all ages, and here to tell us more is CEO Lydia Body-Rice and Annette Ramos, Education Services Manager. Thank you both for joining us today.
Thank you.
Lydia, let's just start with what is Young Audiences? There's many programs underneath it. How would you define Young Audiences of Rochester?
Young Audiences of Rochester is a premier provider of arts education experiences from cradle to college and careers. How do you like that? It's multidisciplinary. It is inclusive. I like to describe it as a three-legged stool because we have early childhood education, we have at-risk teen programs, and then of course we have what everybody traditionally knows Young Audiences for, which is for our teaching artists placements in the classroom.
Mm-hmm. And how did you become involved with it?
I've been actually involved with Young Audiences since my years on the Board of Education in Rochester, and reinvigorated my interest when I was recruited for the job as CEO upon my retirement from Rochester Gas and Electric Corporation.
Okay. And Annette, what's your role at Young Audiences?
Well, currently I am the director of Wolf Trap, which is an early childhood learning program, and manager of educational services. But I came to Young Audiences as a teaching artist. I have been on their roster for almost 10 years. I am a master storyteller and a teaching artist.
Okay. Let's start with the early education. What does the early education program at Young Audiences look like?
Wolf Trap is our early education component. It's a literacy-based program. Our specialty is storytelling and using a book. So all of our Wolf Trap programs utilize and bring to a classroom, a kindergarten classroom, a first grade or a second grade classroom, that essential component of the literacy piece. It's done through total engagement of interactive play, singing, movement, dance, chanting, and of course the very element of drama and bringing a book to life.
Okay. Is Young Audiences unique to Rochester?
No, it is not. We're one of 31 affiliates in the national network with the corporate headquarters in New York City, which is wonderful because we can share best practices, governance. Some of the Wolf Trap programs, we're the regional provider of Wolf Trap. However, there are Wolf Trap affiliates that are linked with other Young Audiences affiliates. So what's wonderful about our particular organization is that we go beyond the boundaries of local and regional arts experiences. So,
how did the local affiliate get started here?
Its roots are actually in music, with Howard Hanson and Belle Gittleman. They were two visionaries who began the quest to inculcate the arts in the Rochester community through their affiliations through the Eastman School of Music, and certainly its music roots have extended, as Annette described, in Wolf Trap, but also in all of the other disciplines. And we you know, our music is a fundamental base for us, but we've embraced the other disciplines as well.
And where do the programs take place? Is there a home base, or are there several locations?
We have our administrative offices right there in NODA, the Neighborhood of the Arts in Village Gate, and we have another extension office that operates out of the Lutheran Reformation Church. That's where our at-risk cipher program operates. But by and large, our experiences are all in the classrooms in 19 districts. So we really, 19 counties, I should say. So we are really serving a broad geographical area, and we do share some commonalities with Western New York as well. In fact, Annette has done some extensive programming with our affiliate in Western New York, particularly focused on the Latino community. She brings a wonderful multilingual experience, and we're broadening our scope, serving the Spanish-speaking community through her leadership.
Great. What is the cipher exactly?
The cipher actually was named by the participants, and it means a cyclical flow of ideas. And so the students and the youth have their own way of identifying with the program. It's after school, again, at the Lutheran Reformation Church, although there are special events, one of which is being held in conjunction with Stand Against Racism tomorrow. They really do travel, and many of them participate in other events, competing and just showcasing their talent. They're a special group of young people, up to 40 of them, are led by coordinator Sue Hollister and Regina Neary, and other teaching artists who are just incredibly gifted at their crafts and with young people.
When you say teaching artists, what exactly does that mean if someone doesn't know?
I'd like Annette to answer that, because one of the beautiful things about her being on staff is because she has the ability to relate peer-to-peer, but also be able to understand the broader scope of the organization. So.
It's an artist who is a master in their art form, whether it be dance, music, theater, storytelling, or visual arts, but who also has a very specific set of skills, and those are educational skills, teaching their art form. And it takes a special kind of an artist to be able to teach students and young people. So for example, I was in a kindergarten class this morning. We have to be able to have the skills to really embrace children at their level, and then really speak that language to them there, and then help them communicate and be creative in their play. So it does take a whole set of skills. There are some wonderful master artists in our community, but it really is a very specialized artist who can be a teaching artist and work with young people.
That's wonderful. For the Cipher program specifically, is there a certain age that program is for?
It's for ages 13 to 21. There are a lot of alumni, a lot of young people who gravitate to the program. It's, again, a peer-to-peer relationship, but that is really exciting because of the opportunities to grow in a creative, entrepreneurial way. So they've begun to move into using their art forms as businesses. And so Annette and I are very much embracing the concept of art to market. That's her terminology, but certainly the entrepreneurial spirit has always been a part of the Cipher After School Initiative. It actually started out with the Downtown Arts Initiative.
Okay, and you brought an example of something that the kids have created.
I did. I bring presents to my hosts. This is an example of a T-shirt that they have designed and silk screened. They'll be sold at the event tomorrow, but they're also sold online. I think it's pretty significant that one of the ways arts can be a calming and healing and expressive influence is by actually creating art and expressing yourself through that. So the youth also design originally greeting card line.
Beautiful.
I'm very excited about that. They produce their own CDs. There's a wonderful dance component. Every art form, from the 21st century digital age to the traditional visual arts that we see, really give voice to their particular interests and expressions, and it's our hope that they are, and we are mentoring them to be future teaching artists.
And oftentimes our children are not taught that art can be a successful career choice for them. And so creative expression is a side thing that you do while you're getting an education to do something else. But art in and of itself can be a fantastic career choice. And we can make a living as artists, and we want our young people today to know that, and especially if they're driven and they're passionate about some art form. And that's where innovation comes in. I mean, the new technologies are all out of that passion of outside the box and thinking and creating outside the box.
Why do you think it's so important for kids to have art in their lives, and especially with Wolf Trap and starting at such a young age?
Pure joy of creative expression. It also has a great developmental brain component. The synapse connections form really hardcore connections early on. So music can be connected to math and science concepts. Dance can be connected to sequencing and patterning, STEM concepts. It is a whole person experience. You're really taking all the elements of creating young mind and being and essence, and really embracing and letting art be that fusion that connects it. And you know, our joy is when we see kids go, aha, what if I can? And we're like, we embrace that because that's what we want. So even scientists and doctors know that if they're a musician and they're playing jazz fusion, there's something creatively brilliant is going on in that brain that will make them better doctors.
And in fact, I think, you know, kind of riffing off of where Annette is headed, is that we've often been faced with arts being categorized as an enrichment or embellishment, or it's jewelry. And we think beyond that, that actually the integration and the lobal leaping, the right brain, left brain, is really what is about making you smarter. In fact, one of my favorite quotes when Congresswoman Louise Slaughter visited our Rochester Summer Scholars program last year was focused on, you know, arts make you smarter. Without art, you know, it would be a very dull world we would be in. And so just having that and having her experience seeing the joy of young people being able to express themselves through the various art forms was just, you know, an exhilarating experience.
And there was a very special honor that she bestowed upon young audiences. Can you tell us about that and what that meant to the students?
To be able to have, during Young Audiences Week, be identified as through a congressional resolution, to be able to have that recognition nationally was just an amazing connection. And certainly she's an aficionado of the arts and a staunch arts supporter, but it went beyond that to where you can just feel that it's palpable, the relationship that she has with arts and kids and learning.
And one of my favorite examples of that experience was when 3 Somalian children presented her with a basket of art that they had created. And that connection, because Rochester is a multicultural community, that connection, those Somalian children have never, and I've seen them since then, they talk about meeting Louise Slaughter because that is something that they will remember for a lifetime. And the impact, that personal touch that she gave them, really impacted them in a very positive way, and it made them feel part of our community, important, and most importantly, seen as a community partner in Rochester.
That's wonderful, and I know that Young Audiences has many partnering organizations. They're listed on the website. Can you tell us about some of those and how important they are to your programs and to your kids?
Certainly, the City of Rochester is one of our most historic and valuable partners, and in fact we're engaged in a partnership called New Directions now, which is operating out of Dries, and we have 18 residencies that, again, everything from slam poetry to all after school, multidisciplinary. We're most excited about, well, not most because all of them are really grand, but we are trying something new with the Carter Street mural, which is actually one of the longest residencies that we've engaged in, which will transform the exterior of that facility. But that partnership has been, from what I understand, almost 30 years. You know, RIT, we have a memorandum of agreement with them, particularly to work with the Center for Urban Entrepreneurship, and that will benefit certainly our Cypher program.
Ibero-American
Ibero, the Rochester Latino Theater Company. I'm a natural, and so is Annette, a collaborator. Our organization is much too small, but mighty, without having an extension to the community and to community partners to support what we do.
Okay, and you mentioned that the youth were participating in the Stand Against Racism, the initiative with the YWCA.
Yes.
What are they learning about the power of art through that project?
Wow. Well, we really engaged actively. It's our second year as a partner with them, and our Cypher students really took it on because they are really a classic example of true integrated art experiences. We have Latino, African American, even Asian students, and obviously white students within that community. And there's such challenges around some of our communities that Cypher is a true representation of cultural integration, where we really see that collaborating as partners in art creates greater art experiences. And so the kids really came up with, students really came up with their concept around what does it mean to stand up against racism? Well, it means to collaborate, it means to participate, it means to co-create, it means joint ownership, it means engagement, it means educating, and not only themselves, but the community that they function in. So the dances that our male youth have created are brilliant integration of that experience because they're working collaboratively, utilizing each of their own individual skills, but utilizing the strength of the group and the community.
Mm-hmm. And what's wonderful, I think, too, about the expression in any art form is that you don't necessarily have to give voice to it. That it becomes organic and a natural part of expressing who you are. So even, the most, reserved or shy or introverted individual can find a way to really make a place and a statement by embracing an art form. And in fact, I found it is the way to even reach those who, and that works very closely with our refugee community, for instance. Many of them are non-English speaking, but there's a way that you can transcend the language barrier through an art form, and that's been really a measure of success for us.
My next question was going to be, is there a specific success story
I must be
that
clairvoyant.
you can think of that really fits the mission of young audiences?
I was going to have you talk about the young student at Rochester Summer Scholars. Was that on your brain who just found a voice?
There's so many.
There's so many stories.
But the highlights as a teaching artist and as an administrator, I get to have the benefit of both. I get to see the overall success of a productive production as far as program, but I also get to see the individual successes of students. I mean, I had one child said, I didn't know I could draw. Or, I danced. Look, Mom, I created this art form. And those highlight those, what I call golden nugget moments where you see a child's engagement. Or my favorite is when they say, can I try it this way? We celebrate those children. We celebrate all children. But those are those moments that really are gratifying as an artist and as an administrator of an art program and organization, because they have discovered something about their own ability and they've gained confidence to bring back into a classroom that will make them better readers, better writers, and better students overall. So just any given day in any of our art programs, those are the moments.
That's wonderful.
When you can find a voice, especially we've had young people who have not been able to express themselves or who have really been repressed in some way, that have been leaders in spoken word, and they've never said anything before. And that's the skill of the teaching artist. That's being able to draw out from what I like to call the artist within. And I've been on this quest, as Annette knows, is that each of us has a story and a connection to the arts. We might not know necessarily what that is until we're more introspective.
Now, you guys work with teens every day and very comfortable with them, and they're very confident in the program. So what do you think are some of the misconceptions that people have about teens?
That is a great question to ask. Oftentimes, they think they don't have anything to say, or that what they do have to say or think or ponder about is irrelevant. And that's just not true. I have discovered, especially in my writing programs, how deep a thinker they are, or a contemplator, and how passionate they might be about a particular subject. You know, we did a writing program with inner city students last year, and many of them wrote about the struggles of how they overcame a challenge, and predominantly poverty, violence, incarceration of a parental parent in their household. And the challenges were compelling, but their success stories around, I wrote this and I accomplished this, and then their ability to read it and been given the voice. And even the teacher will say, I've never heard that child speak, let alone share a piece of writing that profound. So I think that we need to hear our children more often, and ask the question, but really actively listen to what they're saying.
Right. How do you guys keep all these wonderful programs going? How do you get funded and stay funded?
Well, the majority of our funding comes from basically the fee-for-service and the teaching artist placements in our various communities, but certainly there's another focus on active fundraising that is unrestricted. We call it unrestricted income for all of my peers out there, but basically, like any arts organization, we are always in need, particularly of programmatic funding, but also operational funding to be able to support the many wonderful programs that we have. I mentioned merchandising, so we also look at other opportunities to be creative. In fact, we've been considering crowdfunding and, you know, some of the non-traditional ways of raising, funds beyond our boundaries.
Okay, and this question is for either of you. In your time at Young Audiences, what's the thing that you're most proud of, if you had to say one thing?
Wow.
There's so many
I
for
must
me.
ponder.
Yeah.
We have to pick one thing.
One? Well, I think for me, I think the early childhood Wolf Trap programming is such a joy for me. I literally saw a child this morning in a classroom that had not spoken actually sing with a Wolf Trap artist and be engaged, and another child who is high on the autism spectrum actively listen and be present. And it was the wonder of the joyful interactive play. So it's fresh in my mind. So I'm going to say that that was a real highlight for me this morning, watching an artist do their work.
I think for me, it all came together when one of our young ladies performed at the mayor's inaugural. That was transformational in that this young lady was absolutely terrified.
It was a very big crowd.
Even though certainly she is trained to be in that element, it was a very different kind of experience. And with the guidance of the teaching artist and her skill, it came together to create this wonderfully poignant experience that brought together, the very relationship that I think underscores what Young Audiences does.
Finally, what's next for Young Audiences? Any big events coming up that you'd like to share?
Well, we have quite a few. We actually mentioned the event certainly with the Stand Against Racism, but we also have the Possibility Project Rochester, which is the performance component of the Cipher program, and that's on May 6th. That is a private screening, but is also a debut of their particular program and a fundraiser. We actually have our own programs coming up with Rochester Summer Scholars and other summer activities that we're always involved in. But you can see us everywhere.
Wonderful.
We have many, many, many activities planned with new directions for the summer.
Great.
So,
Well, thank you, ladies, very much for joining us today.
Thank you, Tiana.
Thank you. And to learn more about young audiences of Rochester, you can call 530-2060. You can also visit yarochester.org. Thanks for joining us on this edition of CityWise. I'm Tiana Stevens, and we'll see you next week.